playing the anti-theist position in this video. I do make sure to say that I am against ideas like banning religion, though. I don't take anti-theism that far, because that would be illiberal and far too authoritarian for anyone to get behind. It's not about standing on a soapbox and appearing superior to people, but it is fair game to judge people by their ideas, and that is what makes you people so uncomfortable. We need to be real about which ideas are bad, which ideas we need to say, you know what, that's not true, in fact that's quite immoral and you probably shouldn't teach that to children. I thought that's what we as an atheist movement were about. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe things have changed now that we've had such a sudden shift to the right wing. It is only you people who have projected your superior versus inferior talking points onto this debate, or Greg talking about dehumanizing and intolerance. I refuse to let these people turn this into the next Islamophobia. Me, being an atheist, not believing religion is true is valid. Me also being against those ideas, against the spread of delusional fairy tales in society, is a logical next step. It is not intolerance. It is not bigotry. If anything, it may be intolerance of retardation. Are we allowed to do that? Are we allowed to call any idea wrong without being labeled like some monster anymore? I've seen similar things happen with far leftist groups starting to accept pedophilia. Keep in mind, these are people who have never molested a child before. These are people who just hold a bad idea in their head. They have this sick, perverted, twisted fantasy that most society finds distasteful. Am I allowed to be against that person? They haven't done anything technically, but I'm against their ideas. I recognize that a person like that may be a threat to my society. I'm against the ideas they hold, and I'm against them spreading those ideas and normalizing them as acceptable. This is the pussy mindset. Once you come out against something in a strong vocal way, all of a sudden you're the bad guy. You're anti-something, you're the person we need to go after, not the people you're against for completely legitimate reasons. No, you. Because it's so much easier to paint you as the villain. I mean, after all, I do wear black. And if we cannot get on that level, then I fail to see how our conversation regarding religion will be productive in the slightest.
It won't, because you're intolerant of people who have different beliefs than you and who have different opinions than you. You can't have a productive discussion with somebody if you can't at very least put yourself in their shoes and become tolerant of at least the base idea of their belief systems. I'm not saying you have to be tolerant of what they do, but what they believe.
Notice the little backpedal Greg did there. Put myself in their shoes. Yet once again, as I've said in this video before, I am formally a believer. I know exactly the mindset in which you get to that place. I also know that it's unacceptable. And once again, smeared as intolerant. Yes, guilty as charged. I am intolerant of bad ideas. Oh, what a crime against humanity, clearly. What a joke. This is the kind of person calling out the social justice movement. Let me put it this way. If I knew nothing about Armoured Skeptic, I would think that he was some extreme progressive Islamophile atheist. I would think he was like a Steve Shives type atheist. Because when it comes time to call out radical religious targets, he switches his gaze to other atheists. And people like this are greatly responsible for the utter destruction and weakening of the atheist movement. I've said this in many videos and I stand by this idea. Being an atheist is not good enough. Being an atheist is a prerequisite.
A prerequisite? So you can't just be an atheist, like me. You can't just be a definition atheist, somebody who fails to believe that a God exists. I have to join your group of militant anti-theists. I must take up a position against religion. It's not good enough that I don't believe it. I have to also be on the side against it.
Yeah, what a crazy idea. Who would have thought that it's not enough to not just believe in bad ideas? Yes, you also need to be against bad ideas. Crazy. This is exactly how I'd feel in the aforementioned example if someone told me, I personally don't buy into these ideas of pedophilia. But some people really rely on these fantasies. It really helps them out in their life. Let them have this. What are you saying, that I have to be against this idea? Oh, what's the harm? It's not even so much a moral obligation as it is just common sense and sanity. If you believe an idea is wrong, I'm assuming, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt as a public atheist and skeptic that you would be against people having that idea and against the continued spread of it, maybe? But we can't even get on that basis. That's intolerance. That's bigotry. That's too triggering, really. That. We can't even get to that.
That's fucking identity politics bullshit, and that's exactly the kind of thing that I, as a skeptic, am against. You're describing an ideology that is against another ideology. I think the thing I've made quite clear on my channel is that I'm against all ideologies, all ideological belief systems. It's like you're ignoring the very concept of nuance. I can disagree with religion without necessarily dismissing religion wholesale.
And the bullshit really just doesn't stop coming. Anti-theism is not an ideology. In fact, it is being against ideologies. Calling anti-theism an ideology would be just as dumb as calling atheism a religion. What are the doctrines of anti-theism? To be an anti-theist is to be without ideology. I'm against the spread of these bad ideologies. Is that an ideology? By this definition, we could turn anything into an ideology. Absolutely anything. And he tries to minimize this to some kind of identity, politics, atheism plus 2.0 bullshit, when it's you who has been acting like the social justice warrior throughout this entire video. You're against identity politics. Oh, really? I could point to several examples in this video alone where you indulge in them like crazy. Please continue your crusade to defend the marginalized against the militant anti-theists. What a ridiculous boogeyman you've created. You treat us like we're some movement that's unified. We're individuals. I barely know any other anti-theists. We're not even a militant group. We're people who talk on the internet. We're people with microphones and computers. Oh, how fucking scary. Well, it seems our words have made a great number of people uncomfortable, at the very least.
It's like you're ignoring the very concept of nuance. I can disagree with religion without necessarily dismissing religion wholesale.
Yeah, Greg, you can do that. It just makes you retarded. That's my point. You have the right to do so. That has never been in question. I am simply wondering why. Why you would defend this. This is not worth defending. The next step is being an anti-theist, to be part of the new atheist movement. To understand that religions are on a spectrum of bad. But the baseline is that yes, they are all bad. And someone who's an atheist, someone who has rejected the teachings of religion, has even less of an excuse when it comes to this.
Why? Why? There aren't only two answers to every problem. There's not just right and left. There's not just an up and a down. There's a thing called nuance, and I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not fully convinced that religion is good or that God exists, but I'm also not fully convinced that any other ideology is right, including anti-theism, which, as you described it, is definitely an ideological movement.
Okay, no, not even close. I've already explained why anti-theism can't be an ideology, and that's just a ridiculous diversion. Really, the only point of importance in here is, the reason I'm saying atheists have less of an excuse is because they are actually capable of becoming anti-theists, because they do not believe in theism. I would hope it's obvious that everyone Everyone on earth should be an anti-theist. But you know what? A Christian or a Muslim, they're not going to be an anti-theist. Why? Because they're a theist. An atheist can be an anti-theist. If you believe that these ideas are not just wrong, but catastrophically wrong, like completely off base, if you can see the obvious harm in ideas that we know that are wrong influencing society in such a strong way, and you're not against it, I don't know what broke in your brain. I don't know what to even tell that person. You have failed. On so many massive levels, it is actually a joke. But please continue with your smear. If you are against religion for their lack of factual basis, then I also expect you to be against religion for their immoral teachings.
Obviously, I'm against that. But you can also be a theist and be against the immoral teachings of the church. What am I fucking listening to?
And he has to come up with another worthless point, and I love the example he used. It paints such a beautiful picture of what I'm saying. So in the video, I said what I pretty much just said a minute ago. If you are against religion because of their lack of evidence, lack of factual basis, then surely you can be against them on a moral level too. This is completely valid. I don't see how anyone could possibly disagree with this. But because Greg feels the need to yap his trap, he's like, well, you know, you can be a theist. You could be a religious person and be against the teachings of the church. Yeah, great. Wonderful fucking contribution, Greg. And this is just another chance for him to be a religious apologist. It would be like if I said, you know, I think there's a connection between Islam and suicide bombing. And then some Reza Aslan type or some Cenk Uygur type, they pulled up a Muslim who was against suicide bombing. Not all of them are for this. Yeah, I don't really care about the personal opinions of every single Muslim. Do the words in their holy texts seem to lead to some kind of correlation with martyrdom? Oh yeah, well, you can't deny that. It's like, great! What was the point of this example other than to virtue signal about, well, not all religious people are terrible, quit dehumanizing them? This is just the decay of Armored Skeptic. I don't think he realizes how bad he ends up looking at the end of this. I accuse you of basically being a religious apologist, and you say, no, I'm not a religious apologist, but here's a good religious person. And here's some good aspects of religion in society. And I'm not an anti-theist. I don't want to end religion. I should just let you make my points for me. If you do not believe these religions are true, surely you can see that someone who does believe that they are true is crazy.
Not necessarily crazy. Wrong,